Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. This stream will begin in time. Thank you for your patience. Grab a drink, sit back, and explore the paranormal with us. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. This stream will begin in time. Thank you for your patience. Grab a drink, sit back, and explore the paranormal with us. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. This stream will begin in time. Thank you for your patience. Grab a drink, sit back, and explore the paranormal with us. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. This stream will begin in time. Thank you for your patience. Grab a drink, sit back, and explore the paranormal with us. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. This stream will begin in time. Thank you for your patience. Grab a drink, sit back, and explore the paranormal with us.
As far back as I can remember, I dreamt of a normal life. A life filled with normal things. A life where monsters don't live in closets or under the bed. A life where ghosts aren't real. I just wanted to be normal. But that didn't happen. It wasn't meant to be. Since my early 20s, I have experienced profound paranormal events that would change my life. Extreme poltergeist activity, living amongst those that have departed this earth in ways unimaginable. It has affected my loved ones and children with no end in sight. I could hear things, see things, and feel things not of this world. I asked myself if this was a gift or a curse. With the help of my mother and close friends, I emerged a paranormal investigator. Since 2013, I have been on a relentless journey to learn about the paranormal. I invite you to follow me into the unknown. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show.
Hello, and welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. I'm your host, Justin Brown, and tonight, let's see if you can guess who's with me tonight, since I didn't advertise whatsoever. I never do. I want to see who can guess before I reveal who it is. If you guess right, you win a prize. I'm not going to tell you what you win, but who, you get a hint. He is from Ohio. That's all you get. Don't say anything. It'll give it away. We got Limelit Girl in the house. We've got Troy Haney. I was just telling the guest, Troy, that you watch every show. I think you are our top watcher, viewer, whatever you call them. Yeah.
Limelit Girl knew.
Huh?
Limelit Girl knew.
She knew?
Yep.
How did she guess?
I don't know.
Are you serious? Oh my God, you're psychic. She is psychic. How did she know? Oh, it says it in the title. I'm an idiot. I did not think that through, did I?
Yeah, I didn't look at it in the title. I'm like, wow, this is the same way I the show.
That doesn't count, Limelight Girl. Just because you could read doesn't mean you win something. I'm an idiot.
But is my real name? That's the question.
What did you say? Is that your real name?
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, that'd be funny if it wasn't. Welcome to the show. Thanks for jumping on at short notice, man. I really appreciate it. We're only going to go till 9. John's probably got to get up early for work like I do. But we're going to go for an hour, and we're going to try to have fun. And it looks like the stream is not healthy. It looks like it's stopping and starting, which is unfavorable. Ugh. Let's see if I can back down these settings. I did a recommended settings, and I don't think I like it. I'll do 3500. Hopefully the keyframe intervals isn't messing it up. We'll try that. So, man, why don't you catch us up on how you've been doing? Everything good in the hood?
Yeah, I mean, everything's been going well. Really took the last couple of years off from, doing documentaries and things like that to just focus on getting back to enjoying the paranormal. Justin, as you know, from doing documentaries, it's a ton of work, a lot of stress. People don't realize all the work that goes on in the background, but really just getting back to my roots and just going out and having a good time with fellow investigators and just having fun with it. And it's been a really fun year.
Yeah, man. It sounds cool. When you first get into it, you're excited, you love it, and then you don't. Then you're like,
when you do the documentaries and stuff, I mean, like you said, when you first get into it, it's an exciting thing, it's a new thing, you want people to see it and view it and have good things to say about it. But once you start doing it for a little while, like, it just starts to almost feel like a job sometimes, and that can cause bickering, and it just takes the fun out of it. So
yeah, it's definitely a job. And it's probably harder than most people's jobs, since I do photography and videography. I've done it, as a pro. I just shot a wedding, and it's tough. It's really tough to put together any type of production. Especially the stress is real when you're getting paid and you're doing it for someone else.
Yep.
But any amount of production is stressful. You're trying to do good, and things aren't going well. And without saying everything that goes into it, just take our word for it. It's stressful, and it's hard to maintain over a long period of time. But I could definitely relate. I definitely have felt like, since I've got this job I've been doing it for the last 2 years, it's hard to juggle, hardcore, para-life versus, bills and priorities.
Yep.
So I know you definitely took a break, and I'm glad to see that everything worked out for the best, as well as it could, and you're back and you're enjoying it again. And I love seeing you and the crew back at the jail.
Yeah.
Killing it again.
Yeah, it was a fun night a couple of nights ago.
So anything cool to report? Because I frequent that place at least once or twice a year. We're actually going back in December.
John,
yeah,
tell him, or should I?
What's that? I'm sorry.
I was on the live stream, Justin, on Darren's live stream, and I'm like, there's someone standing behind John.
Yep.
Oh.
Yes.
And then Darren messages me the next day, and he's like, John wants to know who you've seen standing behind him.
So who did you tell?
I seen a female standing there. And then I got off the live stream because we were getting on a call.
So
And
that's all the information you gave him?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, though, I mean, I had picked up on a female energy that was before that even live stream even happened from earlier in the night that I felt like was trying to attach itself to me. Weirdly, this is the first time I felt this way at a jail or any place I've investigated, anyways. Like almost a flirtatious energy from a female spirit is what I was kind of picking up on. And it makes sense. I was experimenting with walking over from the chapel over to the drunk tank and was basically just saying like, hey, there's no law enforcement here tonight. There's no police. There's no blah, blah, blah. Let's come over and party. Let's have some whiskey. Let's drink, blah, blah, blah. And every time I would go over there and quote unquote usher or guide the spirit over to the chapel, I would feel this cobweb feeling go over both my arms as if they were grabbing onto my arms and walk over there. A couple other times it was, shrouded in cold energy. But yeah, literally right before that live stream, I had felt that female presence, like I said, almost like a flirtatious energy, which is weird and uncomfortable to really talk about because it's the spirit. Like it's just so weird thing, but it's kind of weird that you did pick up on that.
So I'm very curious about this. So, when did you start feeling? When you entered the building, or was it before that?
As far as what? I'm sorry.
When you picked up that it was female and you knew that it was female, when was that exactly?
It was earlier on in the investigation. So we didn't do a live stream until maybe halfway into the investigation. But myself and Eddie Pence, we started off in the basement, like before anybody else even came down there. We were stirring things up and had a lot of energy rolling as soon as we got in there. But once I felt that cobweb feeling, I don't know what told me it was female, but just the light touch, I guess, made me think it was female. As I was guiding it back over to the chapel. And I don't know, it just like when I was sitting in the chair staring up, you know how you can sit in the chair in front of the doorway and look up towards the stairs? That's where I was sitting the whole time. And once I was sitting in just a neutral position, I felt like the cobweb feeling as if it was brushing up and down my arm. And I don't know.
It is interesting. When it's kind of hard to explain to people if they really don't know, but like when you're around someone that's physical living and they're male and female, you feel like a dynamic. You have like a masculine or feminine feel versus like either whether it's like some type of like eye contact or something. There's like a cue, but it's strange because there seemingly is no cue, but you are still getting a cue. And that is interesting to me because I feel like that's part of our psychic sense that we all have the ability to do if we allow ourselves to. And some people have, like an insane ability to do it. They go above and beyond, what you would think a normal psychic or empath would do. So does this happen frequently or is it rare?
I mean, I've been told I have some sort of empathic abilities here and there. I used to try to, oh goodness gracious, I can't think of the word right now, but I used to practice where I would close my eyes channeling. I used to channel on location every once in a while, and it would work sometimes it didn't. But when I would do it and it worked, I was able to see things, feel things, and as weird as it sounds, there was times where I predicted something that was going to happen later on an investigation, and it did. I don't know how it works or why it doesn't sometimes, but I haven't done the channeling thing in a long time. Started to get a little uncomfortable, but as far as being on location though, it's weird. Like when I first started investigating, I didn't have any of those kind of intuitions or feelings, and as I've investigated more, it's kind of just become a muscle that gets used, and I don't know how to describe it any better than that.
Right. Well, it's very it's almost like your intuitive self. Well, what I'm going to guess is when you're in a certain situation, you're with a group of people that you love being with, you're in a location that you love, the stars aligned, and boom, you just feel like you're settling into the John Ward that you want to be in. at that time. Like, it has to click. If there's something off, it's like a monkey wrench. It throws it in there and boom. No matter how much you want to connect or how much you want to happen, how many experiences you want to have, you just won't get anything. Do you feel like that has something to do with it? Do you feel like just the stars aligned with the people you're with at the location at the time had something to do with that?
I think that's a big part of it, and I also think too. I think the spirits can dictate that a little bit as well. If I feel like if they feel a connection to your energy and want to make that connection, they will. So I think the energy you bring on the location is just as important as how you interact with the spirits, right? Like you can act and react certain ways, but maybe your true intentions or true energy is really not matching that. So that could be part of it too.
Right. Eddie Pence has joined us.
Eddie Pence. Yeah, but down there was nuts. I don't know when the last time you were there, Justin, but the basement, like we literally spent we didn't even go up to the cell block. Like it was basement chapel the whole night. It was
really?
Yeah.
Well, I know it's active down there.
Yeah. It was
and that's the most unpredictable place in my experience. I think the last time we were there, Missy helped me remember, was it when we were with Anthony?
Yeah, we were with Antonio and Donna, your mom.
We were there last Halloween.
Wow.
And it was lit then. It was a full moon Halloween. It was really active that night. And we'll be back again, like I said, here in another 3 weeks or 2 weeks for 2 days.
Wow. Are you guys filming or are you just investigating down there?
We're probably not filming. We're going to be live streaming and investigating. We're going to be shooting some stuff for Deadlights promo. Hopefully we'll get that out. But yeah, I got such a backlog of stuff I haven't even released. I'm not even going to try to add more shit to my, I can't even do. We'll definitely do some stuff, but definitely not a full-fledged thing. We're going to be there with 7 other people. So it's going to be pretty busy, but
Be the 4 of us and 7 other people.
Yeah, I think so. So the basement, like I was going to say, is a place that I feel like is the most unpredictable. Like the other places, it seemed like you usually get the same stuff, but in the basement, it's really, really unpredictable.
Yeah. Like
the claims vary. Like if you go through the claims and you catalog them, they're like all over the place.
Yeah, I wonder if the different energies that have come through that jail, especially like for minor offenses like the drunk tank, for example, right? Like how many energies maybe you go back to that time in their lives and revisit that memory. I don't know. It's it's an interesting theory, but for whatever reason, when we were there, bringing up the whiskey and coming over, and there's no law enforcement, we're not going to judge, come drink, and like it just went berserk. Really did.
It's almost like a lost cause trying to figure out the paranormal, man.
Yep, for sure. Also, I think Terry Long being there helped out a lot. I guess she hadn't been in the jail in a while due to some health things that she was dealing with, but I think her coming back to the jail last night also kind of woke things up when we were there.
I haven't got to meet her yet. I hope to see her when we go back.
She's
Missy. Awesome. I have no doubt. Missy, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, the impression that I got from the female that I seen was that she didn't belong there. She had like tagged along. Like she came with someone, either, like she was visiting.
Like visiting, like did she tag along to one of the other investigators and hop on and come to the jail, or are you saying she came to visit another spirit in the jail? Like
she came to visit someone in the chapel. Like she came with someone in the chapel.
Interesting.
Like she was there when they were doing church or whatever, that's the way she was dressed.
Well, what's interesting too, the Sunday before we went on Saturday, but the Sunday before last, apparently a church actually came there and did like some sort of church thing in the chapel. So that could play into that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to know why the hell things happen.
Right.
I know I've been at the jail and it's been completely insane, almost probably one of the most haunted places I've ever been, and some days it's dead.
Yeah.
And it's just how it works. I know it depends on who you're with, how you're feeling, the day and the weather. Hell, I don't know. There could be so many factors, but I just really feel like if you are in this, if you're locked in and the conditions are right, boom, it could happen. And the jail is, definitely a good place to go see, if you can capture something interesting. And what's interesting about jails and those type of locations, I think they're very prone for transient visitation, especially, in that area, because like you were kind of alluding to before, people of all walks of life, man, women, criminal to the most highest ranking person in the city has been through there.
Yep.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is the possibility of anybody and any kind of person being there is pretty big.
For sure. No, I agree. Yeah, that was my third time investigating the jail. First time I went was really active. Second time I went, kind of like what you said, just dead. Didn't really get much. We wanted to leave pretty early that night, and then, it was active as all could get up when we went on Saturday. But it was all concentrated in the basement. Everybody went upstairs and into the cells and the warden's area and nothing. And then when they came down to the basement and joined us, the activity kept going all night. So it was fun.
Did you feel drawn to the sub level
Honestly,
that particular night?
Weirdly enough, I felt the most energy on the third floor of the jail. But Eddie Pence was actually the one when it first got dark that was like, "Hey, let's go down to the basement." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I don't mind doing that." And that's where we went. And
maybe Eddie's got a chick attached to him.
It's possible. But yeah, something clicked on wanting to talk about drinking because of the drunk tank, and just having a party was kind of the atmosphere I wanted to create, and it blossomed. So
interesting. Yep, the jail's cool. What was the last location before the jail that you've visited?
Where did we go? I want to say it was St. Albans.
Oh, I would love to get down there. Such a cool looking place. It kind of reminds me aesthetically like Madison Seminary.
It does on the outside, but I will tell you right now, inside that building is the most confusing layout of any building I've ever.
I've heard that.
It's insane trying to maneuver your way through that place, but really, really cool building. I highly recommend it if you can get booked down there. Definitely go check out St. Albans. I want to get back down there next year, but I know booking can kind of be a pain sometimes, but it's worth it.
Yeah, Josh has been. There's a bed and breakfast next to it that they own that you can rent, or Airbnb, whatever they call it.
Yep.
I think it's a bed and breakfast.
I think they took that. That's no longer. I think they sold that piece or something.
Oh.
So Eddie and I had to go to a hotel up the road and stay there when we went.
That's kind of a bummer.
It is.
Sounded like it was cool and convenient at the same time.
Right.
So what do you focus on? Like, I know at the jail you were just were you just like running a recorder and a camera and just trying to get some type of, raw interaction, or what methods have you been using here recently?
For me, I mean, it's mostly just been about personal experience. I'm trying to collect the personal experiences at this point. Like, for myself, I know the paranormal is real. It's not about proving it to others at this point. I've done a couple documentaries, and maybe one day I'll pick up doing the filming again. But for now, I'm just trying to pick up those personal experiences and testing out different off the wall things that you wouldn't necessarily think about on an investigation, and trying that to see if it stirs up activity. But yeah, I would say that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't even bother running a camera most of the time right now. Just because I feel like a lot of times when you're running camera, the activity can sometimes take a dip. But if I was obviously filming, it'd be a different story.
That's actually a good point, and that's what I want to try to do when we go down there is the less equipment you have to manage and the less work you have to do, the more you can concentrate on the actual location. Yep. And, what might be going on. So
why do you think I leave my camera in the damn...
I know exactly why. I know. Well, the main reason is you want to be able to pick up on things, and the gear hinders you from doing that. And for two, it sucks running it for hours.
It sucks donkey dick to hold that shit.
It does.
Justin's got the big rigs going, cameras.
Yeah.
Well, I when we investigate, I try to go light. I try to make it light and hands free. But when you're like filming B-roll and you're doing all the stuff and you're carrying your shit in and out of the location, that is insanely sucky. I hate it.
Yep.
And we're going to be investigating with Anthony in Interstate Paranormal, and he is overboard with equipment. Like, I wish you could go in there when we go there. Like, every single floor and every single room will be filled with everything you possibly imagine.
Yeah, I keep it simple, man. I mean, every once in a while, sure, bring a REM pod. I will say that the paranormal music box has been pretty interesting. I've had Ken Ace Taylor bring that on the last couple of investigations. I'm not sure how it works. I think it's motion activated, but we had a lot of that at the Licking County Jail, just constantly going on and off, and even intelligently with questions sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely something that could work and can. I think a lot of times it's hard to validate some stuff because sometimes we falsely trigger things and we're not aware, especially if something like that. Sometimes passive infrared sensors will get set off by IR lights. Sometimes they won't. It just depends on the sensitivity of them.
Yeah.
But I've definitely seen my shadow detector at a residential go off in a bedroom, and it was answering me like it was just someone on the other side of the telephone, and it's creepy. And REM pods, when I was at our FCI up there in the attic, it was creepy there, and we have that on our YouTube channel where we were live streaming, and that for 10 minutes, dude, it's just like you start questioning yourself because it's so on point, and you try to do everything you can. Like I say, stop setting it off. Do not set it off until I say. Because usually if it's just going off randomly and coincidentally lining up with your questions, it'll still go off, even if you don't do anything. Yeah. So I sit there for 3, 4, 5 minutes and make sure it don't go off. And I'm like, okay, set it off. And right when I say that, it does it. And you're like, okay, that's all you need to know.
That's funny because that's similar to kind of what happened at the Licking County Jail this past weekend. So I was outside smoking a cigarette, and Terry had joined me, and I had the door open where the smokers go. And Terry and I were just talking, and Terry randomly offered, like, oh, hey, you want a cigarette down there? Blah, blah, and it goes off. And it went going quiet again. And then anytime we would bring up cigarettes, it would go off. And Terry and I would have a conversation for 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes, not even talking about cigarettes or offering cigarettes. Wouldn't go off. As soon as we offered a cigarette again, would go off, which was really, really interesting to see. And it was coupled a couple times with, like, we heard a loud thud coming from the staircase. We heard tapping on footsteps, things like that, coupled with it. So it was definitely an interesting night.
Awesome, dude. I'm right there with you. When you get tired of trying to prove that, the paranormal exists, something is going on. Something is.
Yep.
Whether our minds are doing it or it's the dead or something else, there is something going on. It's not just in our imagination. I mean, even before, years ago, I knew the paranormal or whatever it is real way before I started trying to, gather evidence of it. Like, I knew. I didn't want to believe in the shit. I'll be honest, it made me afraid. It scared me, and it happened in my early 20s. And the shit it was doing was terrifying. And it was messing with my firstborn kid. And the shit, when you live with it in your house, it's too real. You don't want it there. You want to sleep soundly with not knowing that it's not there. Because when I watched Poltergeist when I was very young, that screwed me over for life, dude. I was terrified of the paranormal. I still bitch at my mom for letting me watch that because I had PTSD for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It was bad.
I said to tell Justin what happened at St. Albans with the walkie-talkies in the kids' room.
Yeah. So with the walkie-talkie, so it was interesting. So St. Albans, they give you walkie-talkies in case you need to radio down and need help or you get lost, that you can communicate down with it at the central command or whatever, their break room, whatever you want to call it. And Eddie will have to refresh my memory, but we were sitting in this room where a man was supposedly molesting children, for lack of better terms, bad energy kind of a thing. And we were kind of calling him out for whatever he did, and we had some interference come through the walkies while nobody was touching them, and through the interference we could hear voices, and they were really faint, but you could hear them coming through. And we thought maybe it was someone down in the break room. So I don't remember if it was Dawn who was with us or her husband that clicked the button. But when he clicked the button, we heard a woman's voice come through the walkie-talkie. Says, "I want to talk to you." And then, and then we radioed down to the people down in the break room. They said nothing came through on their end. It was really definitely a strange interaction. We all got super charged up after that happened. We weren't expecting it, but yeah, anytime the interference, it came through a couple other times with the interference, and we heard those voices, the faint voices again, but that really clear, like, well, I want to talk to you, female voice, really kind of caught us all off guard.
Yeah, what I'm afraid with walkie-talkies is, of course, other people on the same band. But you said it came through when you keyed it.
Yes, correct. Well, I don't know if it was Dawn or her husband. One of them went to go radio down to see if like someone in the break room was trying to get a hold of us because we heard that static. But as soon as they clicked the button, a voice came through, and it was a woman saying, "I want to talk to you."
With their voice there too?
What do you mean with their voice there too?
So they went to the radio back, and when they were talking, you heard it when they were transmitting back to you.
They didn't even. So we were all in the same room. So Corey, myself, Eddie, and Dawn and her husband or whatever. And we were in the room, and like I said, I can't remember if it was Dawn or Corey that pushed the button. There was no talking going on when they pushed the button, and then everybody else's walkies came through the voice of, "I want to talk to you."
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely something creepy and unexpected.
Yeah, we tried to recreate it. We messed with those walkies for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, and we couldn't replicate or duplicate it, and we just chalked it up as unexplainable, but it was definitely a creepy thing.
Yeah, I have no doubt. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So you, what's a darker location, House of Wills or the Monroe House?
Oh man, that's a tough question. For me personally, I would still go Monroe House. I've been to the House of Wills once. Awesome location, a lot of energy, very active, all that good stuff. And for anybody that's not familiar with House of Wills, there's a lot of dark, ritualistic things that have taken place there and probably still do. But there's just something with myself and the spirit that is said to be like the predominant one at Monroe House that doesn't agree with me. I've had situations at Monroe House where I have blacked out during the investigation. I've had situations where I was on a live, and I haven't done a Facebook Live on an investigation since this, but I was on a Facebook Live at the Monroe House, and we were just, I don't even remember what we were doing. We were just running an investigation in the Blue Room, and I wound up cussing out some old woman that was on our Facebook Live feed, and I basically called her out, and I was like, "Fuck you," and I don't know if I can swear. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Just don't be like, yeah. If you say "fuck" like 100 times in a row, it probably won't be a.
I was in the moment of the story there, but yeah, no. I mean, I basically just called her out and called her an effing bitch and all this other stuff, and like I had no recollection of doing it until we got pulled out of the location. They actually had to physically pull me out. They told me what was going on, and that's the last time I've done a Facebook Live on location. That was a few years ago. So definitely, I would vote Monroe House. And also, too, the last time I was there, we had a situation with bugs. And I don't know if you've come across this there or not, Justin, but we were mid-investigation, and it literally sounded like it was raining outside. So we go outside, and there's just millions of bugs flying into the Monroe House, millions of ants crawling around all over the back patio. And I go over to the neighbor's house just to kind of take a peek. No bugs. No bugs.
What the hell?
Yeah, that was the same night that blackout happened. But just, yeah, that place to me is very. If you have that connection with that predominant spirit, you're going to have a rough night sometimes.
For sure. I asked you that because I know you've been to both locations, and I was actually at the House of Wills for 3 days, not during the night, but during the day. And because I was filming, and I'll tell you what, there's very few places that I feel unsafe. Okay, there's been 3 so far: Monroe House, House of Wills, and interestingly, Indiana State Sanitarium.
Really?
Yeah, and it was in the most.
The earth.
Well, that's not what that happens. Because there's, there used to be a hospital there, and there's like sinkholes for where the sublevels used to be. That's just normal, okay? But if you go through the Lee Allen Bryant location, day or night, it does not matter what time of day you do. I do not like it in there. I hate it in there. The energy is horrible. It's just bad for me. Okay, that's all I got to tell you. And Monroe House, if you know the history of it and you've been there, that's understandable. And the House of Wills, and up there where Mr. Wills died, where his bedroom used to be, and where that creepy ass doll room is, and that hallway, I do not like that area for whatever reason. It creeps me out. Like, it feels like you know the feeling of someone just standing right next to you. But when you turn to look, there's no one there. That was the whole time up there.
Yeah.
And there's other places that make you feel very uneasy in there, especially if you go right below where I'm talking about, where that big ass mirror is, and that room with the Jesus and the Mary Magdalene crap that he has. I don't like that area either. Yeah. It's creepy.
Yeah, the whole building's energy is off. And even the neighborhood around it's very scary. So be prepared if you guys ever take a trip up to the House of Wills. But what's funny though, we actually caught something funny up in Mr. Wills' bedroom. We actually captured him having sex through a spirit.
What?
Yeah. Which he was known to be like a ladies' man and all this stuff. But we were running an SB7 or whatever, and we heard this loud smack come through it, and then like a creak, like a bed. Right? The headboard was hitting the wall, and then we heard a woman moan through the speaker. And I remember this plain as day, and I asked, "Hey, Mr. Wills, are you getting it in right now?" And we get a response to the SB7 that says, "Yes, now go away."
Oh, God.
Really, really weird, but it was funny, man. At the time, cracking up.
Now that it feels like you were I felt like I was unwanted, like I was trespassing, like I felt like get the hell out every second I was in there. And that's what I don't like is, when there's something oppressing you like that. Yeah. When you're in an area, it's just, especially that whole neighborhood got me fucked up, dude, because we were there right at the peak of them wanting to kill the owner, Eric.
Oh, okay.
We were there right before he went on to the news, and Matt Benton made me photograph him taking a vial of his own blood and running it down his arm with a crucifix, taking a photo for his film. And I thought that was the end of my life, dude.
Yeah.
I thought that's how I was going out. And fortunately, we got it done and nothing happened. But there was, people screaming at him during the time he was there, saying he was going to kill him, devil worshiper, blah, blah, blah. But it was just, the whole thing was a big bag of nopes.
Yeah.
But there's something about the Monroe House. It's a smaller location. There's something, I say it in my film there. There's something about the small rural farmhouse and the whole culture and the whole folkloric vibe of it that seems to pinpoint something in your psyche the best way possible.
Right. 100%.
And then the history and all the stuff and all the claims of it is just like a hammer. Everything just beating that trigger in your soul home. It's such an interesting location.
It's definitely interesting, and I don't know, like obviously you guys have a lot of sensitives on your team. I don't know if you guys have picked up on this, but the spirit that I'm referring to, at least how he comes across to me, I've always called him Grayface. Now I don't know if that, sticks with anybody or if they've had the similar experience. But before I ever went to Monroe House, the first time I went there, I actually had a dream about the Monroe House, and was able to describe to a T what it looked like inside, the basement, everything. Like, I was able to describe all of it. But in the dream, I was in the basement, and I just remember I was investigating, blah, blah, blah. And there was this gray face that kind of appeared underneath the staircase, and it made like this deep, throaty, like almost like throat singing kind of a noise. And I remember I startled awake. And then there's been a couple other times where I've had dreams about the same gray figure from there. It looks human, but it's very much just I don't know how to describe it. Very like no nose, like the wide open, gaping mouth, black eyes, gray face. It's appeared
He has like horns too.
Yep. And what's interesting, like you see those memes sometimes on Facebook, and I feel like sometimes it's just coincidence, but like the meme of that little gray person sitting on the edge of the bed, like looking back. Like I don't know if you guys know which meme I'm talking about, but I feel like that's like I don't know if you know what I'm referencing, but just creepy stuff, like little nuances that really mess with you.
Well, I've said this. My take on the Monroe House is like it resonates with your deepest fears, and it knows what scares you, it knows what makes you uncomfortable, and it will mess with you. The more open you are and the less guarded you are, the more vulnerable you are to it. And that's what's dangerous and crazy about the location, is because you go there to be open, to have an experience, but those type of locations take advantage of that. And I feel like, it shows itself, however, in whatever way that would creep you out the most, I would feel.
Right. That makes sense too.
My mother, when I took her there, I don't know if you've seen a Hunting on Monroe Street, the video that I first did there, but I took my mom there, and she called the entity you're speaking about the trickster or the jokester. I forget which one, but it does it does whatever it can to do whatever it wants to have its way with you, whether it's terrify you, harm you, or potentially even go after the people that your friends or your loved ones, because it definitely will leave the location and fuck with you outside of it.
For sure. No, I agree. But yeah, there's something about that place that just makes me angry. Every time I'm there, I get angry, and almost to a point. I did black out the last time I was there, but
that's not cool.
No, it's not fun. It's when people ask me about like the scariest experiences, it's when you black out. That's a scary thing to deal with on location. Very scary thing. That's more terrifying to me than seeing things. It's blacking out and not knowing what's going on.
So Toby, he's been watching the show recently. He says, I do exorcisms in ward places, freeing the negative energies. It's sad that I have seen some people fall victim of demons or evil spirits. Do you feel like, for question one, do you believe in evil? And question two, do you think that's present at the Monroe House?
Yes and yes.
You were kind of hesitant, but just say it, because I'll tell you what, dude. If you believe in spirits, you best believe in evil.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, nowadays the word demon and all that stuff gets thrown around way too often. But I've just, through my experiences I've had there, I have to question if there was a location that had that reported energy, it would be there. Just the ability to make people black out, get angry, the bug infestation outside the home the night we were there, like just so many things that would make you think like could be. But then what's weird is other people go there and they have quiet night, and I don't know. It's a weird dynamic. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if it connects to certain people and doesn't others, but yeah, there's definitely something not good there.
I agree. Sometimes I use analogies to kind of explain what you're talking about with, one day you got it, one day you don't. I feel like, you can go into, like 5 people can go into a room, and then you introduce a 6th person with coronavirus. Let's just say 3 people out of the 5 get it, 2 people don't. Why do those 2 people don't? Well, there's probably factors, but I feel like one potential factor is sometimes we have our defenses up. We have our immune systems are strong that day, and we're able to ward off whatever's there, or at least be guarded or protected from it that day. But sometimes our immune systems are weak or low, and when we go into those locations, we're more susceptible. And I feel like that is an interesting analogy or way to look at it when it comes to, dark energies. One day we may be completely protected against it, and other days we're not. And I feel like it's beneficial to know when you're not protected, because that's when you could potentially save yourself from a lot of issues.
For sure. I agree.
But yeah,
Troy
go ahead.
Haney wants to know why there's always a doll room.
Hey man, when you have a haunted location, you don't have a doll room, you're doing it wrong.
There's something creepy about dolls. I mean, it just adds to the scare factor, I think, in a lot of locations. And like myself, I've got this vintage room I'm in right now. I've got all kinds of old vintage antique things, and there's some dolls in here and things like that. It just adds to the creep factor. But I will say, I did have dolls that I would wholeheartedly bet my entire life savings were absolutely the darkest haunted energy you would have ever felt. Right after I purchased them, my whole life got flipped upside down. The worst luck you could imagine. Everything just went to shit, and it was bad. It was a bad time in my life, and I don't know. It's not comfortable to talk about, but I went through a stretch where I was borderline suicidal over the things that were going on in my life, and I believe that those dolls were at the root cause of it, because everything started happening after I brought them in the home. I don't know if you remember the post or not, Justin. This was
I do.
But I posted a picture of the dolls. I was like, first one that wants to come take them, take them. My friend Eddie Pence actually took them from me.
They were small, right? They were very small dolls.
Little dolls. But Eddie took them home, and he had the same stuff happening to him. Like, his whole life went upside down, and everything went to shit, and more or less those dolls were just pure evil, in my opinion. And now they reside in Steve Hummel's.
I was going to say that's where they need to be taken.
Yep. So they're in his dark room now with all the other misfits. But yeah, those. You got to be careful. Like, I have maybe one or two items in this whole room that have, like, just, it could even be residual energy, but there's energy on a couple of items. You just got to be careful with antiques and creepy things like that, because sometimes things attach themselves to it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there should be a lot of attention as far as research and study on that type of phenomena, because I feel like that could be the most potentially dangerous of any, because anybody can go pick up those from a yard sale or a secondhand and wreak havoc. I don't think we should dismiss that type of claim at all, because it seems like an irrational fear, like of dolls, and you kind of think about, well, if it doesn't fit your box of the paranormal, you shouldn't dismiss it. But I feel like there's definitely something, especially after doing research at Steve Hummel's museum. Especially after doing that, it opens your mind to the possibility of what goes on with that type of... It seems like it's a completely separate subset of the paranormal that is highly misunderstood, or, it seems more mysterious to me.
It's very mysterious, and it's like you're playing with fire. And I've told this to a couple people that have started collecting antiques and vintage things. Like, you really got to be careful. Like, everybody's wanting these haunted items. Everybody wants a haunted museum now and all this stuff. But if you get something like what I had with those clown dolls, it could really mess you up, mess your life up. And I haven't bought any antiques since then, to be honest. I've kind of slowed down on that a lot. But yeah, it's definitely something to be cautious of, for sure.
Josh Bender said give him to Kenny Biddle, which is a skeptic. That would definitely be something, if I was doing a study on, I would want to give them specifically to skeptics to see if it does the same thing. Oh, yeah. I just think that whole area of the paranormal is something that kind of gets laughed at sometimes, and then when people do experience it, they don't mess around with it long enough to try to understand it, because it seems so you know, it's never good. It's always bad.
Well,
You never get a doll and all of a sudden you win the lottery and everything's flowers and rainbows, right?
Well, what's interesting too, like I had bought them a while before anything, right? And I bought them and just added them to the collection, and things were going downhill in my life, and I didn't think anything of it. Like I don't know if I was shielded to it at the time or what. But I was over at my parents' house and kind of just telling them everything that was going on, you know, the home life and everything. And my parents, they don't like all the creepy stuff that I've bought, but they're like, you need to get rid of all that creepy stuff. Like that's what's causing all this and da 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 da. And like, no, I've had it for longer than this stuff's been going on. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, those freaking clown dolls. Like I just got those a few months ago, and everything has gone downhill since. And yeah, I got rid of them, and Sean Gilmore came over to cleanse my house right afterwards, and he felt really uncomfortable and had a lot of, you know, thoughts about the energy in the home. And interestingly enough, he came over to sage the vintage room, and the sage actually burned out 4 different times while he was trying to sage the vintage room, which found out afterwards is not a great sign. But he brought over, I think it was called Florida water, and he did that whole thing and just cleansed everything out of here, and things have been getting better slowly ever since.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you got something pretty potent, it takes more than just sage, unfortunately.
Yep.
So, yeah, I find it interesting that some folks. I know you got to get off here in 9 minutes, but can you kind of do like a quick rundown of why you think that you're like a ghost magnet, or you know you have so many experiences rather? Did you have some young in life? Like, has it been something that's kind of plagued you, or kind of give us a brief history on that?
So the long and the short is I feel like I did have experiences as a child, but shut them out because my parents just kept saying ghosts aren't real. You're afraid of monsters under the bed, blah, blah, blah. It's not real, blah, blah. And they just pounded that into my head. So I became hardened to it for a long time, and actually was a hardcore skeptic up until about 11 years ago. And that's kind of where my beliefs in the paranormal started. And I was in an apartment in Akron with my old roommate. His name was Sean as well, but not Sean Gilmore. And he told me that there was a spirit that followed him around everywhere he's ever lived. And I was, like I said, I was a hardened skeptic. I'm like, you know, bull crap. Like if you know, this spirit's real, he'll come find me. And I was talking all kinds of, you know, crazy and just taunting, really. And the spirit's name was Bob, which again added to the factor of like, I don't believe this, like this is stupid. But that's what he named him as a kid. And things started happening in the house that I just couldn't explain. No amount of science will ever explain. And that really is what flipped the switch for me. Like, this is real. I want to explore this. And it started out like I wanted to prove it to people that it was real. But then it just, like I said, it's kind of changed and shifted into, I just want the personal experiences now. But yeah, like just going through those situations where science just can't explain it away. Like, what do you do in that? Like, it's paranormal. It's not normal. Right. So we don't know if it's ghosts. We don't know if it's interdimensional beings. We don't know what it is. And I tell people that all the time. It's easier to just say it's ghosts, but we don't truly know what we're dealing with, but it's something.
It's definitely something. And when you think about it, it definitely seems more than just a manifestation of your own fears and thoughts and energy, even though that definitely seems like it's a recipe on a lot of stuff that happens, but it's not the whole story.
Right.
And I feel like it's a rabbit hole that has no bottom, and we'll never know what the fuck is going on, but it will not stop us from chasing that dragon. Because I'll tell you what, once you get to the point where your iris to this whole concept is open, it's hard to close it back. It's and it's because it's so intriguing, and it just pokes at your curiosity in the best way possible. It's really hard to put down, to hang it up after you've had your first experience of what the fuck was that.
Yeah, 100%. Crazy too. for all the hardened skeptics, I try to tell them the stories, and obviously they're similar. Like, I've got to believe it and see it for myself. But
they
like,
do.
For example, like we had a loft, and my roommate, his was above my room, his was the loft. I was the bedroom directly below it. We were in the middle of winter. I was the only one home. My buddy and his girlfriend were at the bar. My wife was in New York she was in college at the time, so she was on winter break. I'm in the apartment by myself, and I'm walking into my bedroom to go grab a DVD to go bring out to the living room and watch. And as soon as I walked under the underpass underneath the bedroom, I hear this loud crash, loud bang up in the loft. And this is after I've had a couple other experiences that really creeped me out and everything, but this was the one that really resonated with me. So I call my roommate, and I'm like, "Hey man, I just heard a loud bang coming up from your room. Like, I don't want to go up there. Like, I was scared." And he was like, "Well, I told you not to talk shit to Bob and blah blah blah. He doesn't like you and this, that, and the other." And he was like, "Will you at least go up there and check on my pet lizard?" I'm like, "Sure. Like, I'll go up there." And that's I begrudgingly went upstairs and go up there, and what I saw really blew my mind. He had a picture that was hung up on his wall, somehow had flown off the wall 10 feet to the right, shattered on the ground. And then I look over at his lizard cage, and somehow he had a lizard cage on the floor, and one of those lamps that keeps the lizard warm sitting on top of it. Somehow that light from on top of the lizard tank had flown off the top of the tank, gone between two crossbars in his dresser, and smashed on the ground. No windows open, no nothing. Like, how do you explain that?
You can't.
And that's really where the turning point for me was, where I'm like, this is real. Like, I was scared. I was very scared to be in the apartment that night. So, yeah.
Have you ever heard me tell you the story about the pennies?
I don't think so.
Okay. We'll end the show with a similar thing, but a little bit different. So years ago, before me and Christy were married, she's over at my place, and this dates the story. We're watching a movie from a VHS player. Okay. So my oldest son at the time was very young. He had a piggy bank full of pennies, and he would take them and just make them go everywhere. They were everywhere. So there was always pennies everywhere. So there was one sitting on the VHS player, and me and Christy are watching a movie like we normally would, and it's kind of in my eyesight. I can see it. So something catches my eye. I look down at the penny, and it levitates this far off of there slowly. And I'm looking at it like, I'm like, what the fuck? And it rotates 360 degrees slowly, dude, like a fucking horror movie, and lands slowly back down on there. It took like 4 or 5 seconds to do this.
Wow.
And my mind broke. And I look over at Christy, and this is what makes it crazy, because when you're by yourself, you can just be like, oh, I just imagine that shit. No. Right. She's seen it. And dude, this house I grew up in, the pennies would fly across the room randomly. I've had friends come over, and it would try to hit them. And they're like, dude, what the fuck was that? And I'm just like, oh my, PlayStation, ghost or something, dude. I don't know. They're like, fuck this. I'm out of here. And, I don't think it's something that was trying to hurt somebody, but there's something about poltergeist phenomena that is interesting. And I explain it to people. There's tensions and tensors that build up in the environment. And if you study parapsychology, that these tensors are like springs that cannot hold their tension any longer. And it seems like it's random. When that tensor breaks, it moves shit. So that could explain it. But that penny was so deliberate in what it did that I feel like that was not something like a random, event. I felt like it was trying to get my attention, whatever it was. Right. But I don't know. Like, and that's just one story with dozens of shit that I know the shit's real. Like, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's real, but I don't know what it is. And it drives you crazy. Yeah. But dude, the penny thing blew. That was the craziest thing. Yep. Well, I'll tell you another. Did you ever hear me tell the story about my first sentence my son said to me? Mm. Okay. We'll end the show with this one. I know everybody watching's probably heard it. So he's 2, And he's just now starting to, make sentences, small talk. And we're in the same house. And to set up this story, a firefighter sold us this house in 91. We moved in 92, and a year later he ended up killing himself at his house. But he sold the house that he raised his kids in. So the house was completely normal until he actually killed himself. And for years it was haunted. Okay, so fast forward from 92 all the way to 2002, 2003, whatever it was. So we're upstairs. This guy's name was not said in 10 years to anyone in that house, especially to my son. And he starts to talk about a man named John. And I'm like, oh, you talking about my dad, your grandpa John? He's like, no, John R. He's dead. That's the first thing he fucking said to me. And his name was John R. And I still have PTSD from that. I still can't undo that out of my brain.
Do you know if your son has any kind of abilities or is sensitive at all to this sort of thing? Or
yes. My mom's an alien, dude.
Yeah.
She's a fucking alien. And she's passed on the DNA. That's you want me to call her demon witch? Does that sound better? So I grew up with this, this woman. Love my mom. It's like she's an alien, dude. And she's scared the shit out of me with the stories and experiences she, had and would tell me. And that point where we moved into that house and I could not hide from the paranormal anymore is when I started, knowing that there's something going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, if you ever want to sit down and hear some mind-blowing shit that you think that sounds like bullshit, like you said, like Bob the ghost, yeah. I got a lot of Bob the ghost stories for you. But dude, I really appreciate you coming on here, man. I'm not going to take up much more of your time. Is there anything you want to plug or say before we get off here?
Honestly, no. If you don't know me or whatever on Facebook or you're not friends yet, send me a friend request. I don't have any special projects going on. I'm just enjoying the paranormal for now. And if I decide to film in the future, you guys will obviously be invited along that journey. But for now, just having fun in the paranormal field, and hope you guys all do too.
Sweet, man. I'll probably ask you to do it again sometime down the road if you want to. But I enjoyed it. Definitely have a lot in common. We both were from Ohio, and we need to link up and do some fun stuff.
Absolutely, I agree, man. You just let me know.
All right. If you want to, you can hang out on the call. But if you want to get off here while I wrap up the show, you may do that. But thank you. Huh?
I said I'll hang out for a couple minutes after.
All right. Just hold on one second. Alrighty. So, everybody that was nice enough to tune in tonight, thank you very much. You guys are awesome. You're the all-stars. We will do the social screen thing. If you want to figure out what we do in the paranormal, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, and of course, our website is interfacedeath.net. Please check out those links if you want to. Patrons, thank you. Your support is awesome. If you want to check out our Patreon, I will link it in the chat right here. It is a way you can financially support us. Look, Scotty Fox, I haven't seen you in a long time, man. What's up? I think we all experience personal events that piques our interest. I hope everyone does, because it just makes life that much more interesting. I tell you what, a life without the paranormal is dull. I'll tell you that right now. But everybody you can see on your screen, please extend your thanks to them. Without them, this show would not be possible. Nothing that we do online as far as digital and content creation would not be possible. But thank you very much for all the support we get on Patreon. Your support is much appreciated. And that's where I'm going to leave it, guys. Love you. I don't know when I'll probably go live next Wednesday with Anthony if he's available, and we'll do a 2-hour show, and we'll do some review of some videos and whatnot. But I'm going to sign off. You guys have a good night, and hope to catch you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You have a good night.